Hello everyone, this is another update on the Falcon Heavy launch. SpaceX has released a preview animation of this specific Falcon Heavy launch with the Tesla Roadster to the soundtrack of Life on Mars by David Bowie. And apart from that video being cool to look at and building up launch hype as we pass 24 hours to launch, it also confirms a few things we couldn't be absolutely sure about before. For once, the Tesla Roadster will actually apparently be separated after reaching Mars transfer orbit, or a Hohmann transfer orbit out of transfer window, which isn't necessarily expected by a dummy payload which doesn't really have to separate from its upper stage. However, it does also make sense since it is a test flight and it makes sense to also test that separation phase, although then on the other hand, they have already tested that before. The Falcon Heavy is still a modified, sized up Falcon 9 essentially, and the upper stage is still a Falcon 9 second stage, and so the separation mechanism isn't really that new. The animation, aside from being more detailed than the old Falcon Heavy flight animation, also shows that the left and right booster engines will actually cut off before stage separation, which isn't necessary. There are two ways to do this separation, and you could leave the engines running but throttle them down so that they accelerate the lighter, since empty of fuel, boosters at the same rate that the core engines accelerate the rest of the Falcon Heavy, so that there are no stresses between the stages during separation and they cleanly come off. However, it seems they just throttle down the center core and cut off the left and right booster engines completely, then separate and then turn them back on, meaning that there will be quite a bit of stress between the several cores during that separation. We also see that the core stage will do a rather strong boost back burn, but still re-enter the atmosphere at an incredibly high speed, and mostly with engine off, which means it doesn't really have a gas heat shield in that way. And between that animation and the recent images of the Roadster with the Starman, as they call their dummy-filled flight suit, launch hype is building up pretty well. Remember, this is the most powerful rocket to lift off since the Space Shuttle, and with the Space Shuttle being a somewhat flawed design, the most capable rocket lifting off since the Saturn V. With that, I will end this tiny update. I highly recommend you watch the video with the intended correct soundtrack of Life on Mars completely, as it is pretty awesome. If you have any questions regarding spaceflight, I'm always open, and as always, thanks for watching.